What's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the DNVR Rams podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I am super fortunate to be joined by head CSU football coach Jay Norvell live in studio. This is a big deal. First time we've ever had a CSU coach here. Jay, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thanks for having us.
I know first things first, on Saturday, you guys have got the women's clinic coming up, hosted by your wife, Kim. Yep. Why is this event important to the Norvell family?
It's just really important. You know, so many of our fans are ladies, are females, and we wanted to do a special event for the women. And so we'll do chalk talk, we'll do a live auction, and then we'll actually do drills on the field with the ladies that are there. I think the thing that makes the event unique is that our players are involved. Yeah. So our whole football team will be there, and they'll get to know and interact with our guys and really get to know them as people. And it's just so much fun. And all the proceeds go to Ram Strength and Cancer Foundation, and also to our nutrition program for our players. So it's a great cause as well.
I've been fortunate these last couple of practices to talk with Kim a little bit about the event, just to get to know her a little bit. One of the things that stood out to me back at your intro presser back in, December, it's been a long time now, was the way you spoke about your family and the high reverence in which you hold them to, how important they are to you. How important is that for you individually, just to have that balance, to have the family life and be able to tune out of football for a little bit?
It's very important. And, you know, and I'm a guy that's been coaching for 3 decades. I've been at some of the great programs in the country, you know, Oklahoma, UCLA, Nebraska, Wisconsin, played at Iowa, you know, and the intensity and the pressure to coach at those places. I also coached in the NFL with the Colts and the Raiders, and having that support to be able to do something I love is amazing, you know. And so many times when you start a new job, you have a built-in network of friends, from coaches and staff that you work with. Your family doesn't always have that, and so I just appreciate my wife. It's really a family business. You know, my wife and my son are involved in everything we do and supporting our kids and our program. So I'm just very fortunate to have such a supportive partner in Kim.
Is that something you keep in mind, perhaps, with maybe some of the coaches on your staff? Because, I mean, I interned for CSU Football for a couple of years in college, and one of the things I realized was just how many of the coaches are away from their families, because a lot of them are moving around from year to year. That's got to be really hard for those up-and-comers.
It's difficult, and unfortunately, you know, some coaches' wives don't understand the commitment that it takes to really coach, and it's never balanced. You know, you never spend as much time with your family as you'd like, but the quality time that you spend is really important. And, you know, and it's important for young guys starting off in the business to understand that commitment, and their families to understand. I think one of the great things we have is Tim Cassidy is one of the great veterans in our business, and he does a great job talking to the wives and letting them understand the expectations of their husband throughout the year.
What does your day look like as far as family time? Obviously, you know, your son's out at practice. Kim comes to practice sometimes with Chip. Big fan of your dog, Chip Norvell. Got a couple questions about him. But, I mean, what's the day look like? Do you guys get some time in the morning? Do you have, you know, your time at night that you just kind of lay out as family time?
Yeah, I usually get up sometime between 4 and 5, depending on the day. And so I get up, I exercise, I meditate, pray in the morning. I have a routine that I do, and then I go to work. I really like setting our schedule to where we get our work done early in the day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always like that. You know, when I was in the NFL, you know, we worked from daybreak until late into the evening. I try to get our coaches home around dinner time, after dinner, so they can see their families. We got a lot of coaches that have young kids, and I just don't think it's right for coaches to not see those kids on a regular basis. So we're usually back home in the evenings, depending on where we are game planning, and that's the way I like it. I usually come home and Kim and I pick something out to watch on Netflix or something, and a series or something like that, and spend an hour or two just kind of hanging out talking.
You all caught up on Yellowstone?
I am. I've caught up on Yellowstone. I'm watching a Seinfeld series, the comedians and coffee right now.
Yeah,
it's kind of good. It's interesting. I'd love to come back as Jerry Seinfeld and be able to go out and have coffee with your friends on a Tuesday morning and call it work
In your $200,000 car,
Right,
rare sports
exactly.
car.
Exactly.
I've heard you're a big Dairy Queen guy. That's a part of the routine. That's like one of your guilty pleasures.
I love Dairy Queen. I can be probably caught at Dairy Queen most nights, and a medium Snickers Blizzard is my go-to. And but yeah, that's my guilty pleasure at night. And Chip even gets a pup cup every once in a while, And but no, I love Dairy Queen. It's awesome.
I feel like it's probably got to help to be able to have, even if it's only an hour or two, because you mentioned being in the NFL, working up from sun up to sundown. Can you even really do your best work if you're that fried? Like, as a writer, I almost need that too, just take an hour and refresh.
It's really it's been a learning experience for me as a coach, and I've been at the spectrum where guys just work day and night, and there's a diminishing return, with the time that you spend. And I found that the most important time that we have during the day is the time we spend with our players. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we've done is we've really tried to simplify our offense and defensive schemes, and especially for college athletes. These guys have class, they have all these other responsibilities. They're not professionals. And so you got to really hone in schematically on what you can do with them. And that's why I love our air raid offense, because it's really simple. They get a lot of repetitions at it, and they can be very diverse, but also very skilled at what we do, and that's really served us well.
At what point in your coaching career did you move to that split practices? Was that something that was recommended to you, or did you come up with it on your own?
I did, and it was kind of something that over the years we've had to do it because of certain things, whether it's number of players or time. But it's something that we really developed in the COVID year. At Nevada, we couldn't have 100 players on the field at the same time, so we had to split them up. And it's also something that's very common in basketball. Basketball will split their practices up, and they'll ask the big men to come in, at 9, and then they'll have their guards come in at 10, and they'll just work on drills that are specific to their position. And so we kind of do that in football too. And it's been something that's allowed us to get a lot of repetitions. It's helped our new players start to understand our system better. And it's helped us to build depth. In a season, there's going to be a lot of backup players that have to play during the year. And, doing the split practices allows us to give them the repetitions and the experience they need to be able to understand the schemes that they're going to be plugged into in the fall.
I could really see it, taking off and being the way most teams choose to practice, just because, in years past, not all the practice was open, but the parts that we got to watch, a lot of the 3s and 4s for, an hour at a time would essentially just be standing around.
No doubt. And this, we literally have nobody standing around. Yeah. Our 3s and 4s, really get as many reps as our 1s and 2s. And that's so different than most camps. I just think that our job is to develop players in college football. It's to recruit really talented young men and then to develop them into good players. And the only way you can really develop is by doing.
Yeah.
You have to make mistakes. You have to be able to watch yourself on film. And that's where you grow as a player. And we've had a ton of young kids get in a lot of situations, 2-minute, red zone, goal line, situations that they would never experience in a normal practice. And so that's been great for us. And hopefully we're getting these kids ahead of the bar. Has
the red shirt changed these last couple of years where you're allowed to play up to 4 games and keep your red shirt? Yeah. Has that made camp just a little less stressful? I'm sure it's still extremely stressful, but your roster doesn't have to be concrete week 1.
I think it's an awesome rule. It's one of the best rules in my in my years of coaching that they've come up with. It used to be if a kid played one play,
Yeah.
his year was taken away, and he couldn't redshirt. And that just seems so unfair to me. And now they can play up to 4 games and still keep their redshirt. And so what we like to do is some of the kids, we may play them in the preseason and see where they are. Other kids, we may wait, and the last month of the season, they may get a chance to play because of injuries or depth problems. So there's a fine line, and we'll make different decisions with different kids. But I think it's a great rule. And if we have a good, talented player, we're going to try to play him as freshmen in at least 4 games.
How many receivers do you expect to see the field this year? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, in this offense, just naturally, all the routes they're running, I got to imagine it's 8+.
Yeah, that's pretty close. I would say, we'll have 2 deep. Will give us 6. And I would say probably 8+, depending on what happens at tight end. And but we just use so many receivers, and we run so much in practice. And so you got to have, when I first got hired, I looked at the roster, and I think they only had like 6 receivers on the roster. And I just said, we have to get 12 to 14 just to be able to practice. And so we've been able to do that. Some of our best young players are those receivers. We had a couple kids make some incredible plays yesterday. And so we're going to see a lot of young players this year, especially in that receiver room.
Is that, when you see Justice Ross Simmons go up and make a one-handed catch over a former 4-star DB that started as a true freshman, do you kind of have to remind yourself sometimes, like, all right, it's still scrimmage 1, but this kid's legit?
And that's the beauty of how we practice. We try to put these kids in situations that they're going to be in the game, and we want it to be as game-like and competitive as possible so they get those experiences. So it's so important for our kids to go into Canvas Stadium and be in a game situation, whether it's a 2-minute drill or red zone or goal line, and feel comfortable, because they need to play in that environment.
Yeah.
And so those experiences are so valuable to us. And, we had a good old-fashioned scrimmage yesterday. Last year when I was at Nevada, we had a veteran team. I kind of knew what we had, and I just wanted to get guys of the season healthy. We didn't scrimmage as much. This year we have so many moving pieces, 59 new players, everybody on offense new quarterback, new center, all the new faces on defense. We have to find out about our team and give them a chance to gain some chemistry. And so, we're going to be a work in progress, especially early in the year, figuring out which players fit in which spots. But as we go, I think we're going to really start to dial into that. Yesterday was ugly at times. And that was by design. I designed that scrimmage, to put the offense in the hardest positions.
They start at the 2-yard line.
Yeah, and but it's humbling, and I think it's important to get humbled early, so you really know that you have a lot of work to do, and that we really got to get focused to get ready for game 1.
As a coach, I'm sure it's satisfying to watch, that Nevada offense last year with Carson and all the weapons on the outside, Romeo, who's tearing it up for the Packers.
Yeah.
But is there a part of you that enjoys this part more, the build and getting to start over and teach everybody everything?
This is really our life's work. We love our football. We love how we teach it. And we love seeing this new group of kids learn it from the ground up. And we're really just building a foundation of understanding. And this offense really takes off as kids get the number of repetitions and really make it part instinctual to them. When I was in the NFL, the best defenses were the ones that played in. They weren't complicated, but they played very instinctually. That's what we try to do on offense. And in the air raid is we give the kids tons of repetitions. These plays become their own, and then they could put their creative wrinkle on it to make it special. And that's what all these young receivers were getting. Our quarterback is getting used to these brand new kids that just came on campus. And so there's a lot of growing that's going on that practice field, but we want to get better every day. And, as we go through the season, we should see a lot of improvement.
It seems like Freddie Banks kind of views defense similarly. He was like, look, if you can only do one or two things really well, that's what we're going to have you do. We're not going to ask you to do too much, but the things you do, we want you to do it right.
Yes. I think that's really the secret to coaching. I think coaching is give and take between players and coaches, and I think a lot of what we do in practice is we're probing, we're kind of seeing what these kids can do. We're putting them in situations where they have to show what they can do. And then as coaches, it's our job to put them in positions where they can utilize their strengths. And don't make them do things that are a weakness of theirs. Let them do things that are strengths of theirs and put them in that position. And I think that's a real secret to coaching. I think a lot of times coaches don't put their kids in situations to have success, and that's really their fault. And so we work really hard to find out what we have, what we can do, and then to put them in situations where they can have success.
Was the decision to go to a 4-2-5, was that something you knew before you wanted to hire Freddie, or was that like a joint decision? How did that process go along?
So we've been running this scheme at Nevada the last couple of years, and Freddie was part of that introduction and teaching that. Really want to be able to put pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
And probably the best way to do that is to have 4 down rushers and then play coverage behind it. And if you can generate pressure without blitzing, boy, you can really play good defense. And so that's what we want to recruit: great defensive ends that can pass rush, active inside tackles that can put pressure on the quarterback, and really bump and run defensive backs that play a lot of man coverage. And so Freddie really understands that system. He had great success at Montana State last year, and it's really a continuation from what we had at Nevada.
How much are you going to have to rely on these safeties and the nickel backs, and because those are probably the most experienced guys you have on that defense?
I love having some experience at safety and nickel. So much of defense is you have to be good down the middle. Mm-hmm. You got to be good with your nose tackles. You got to be good with your middle linebacker, and your safeties have to be knowledgeable. But just having experienced guys back there that they're really the last line of defense. And, if you break down at your safety position, you're giving up touchdowns. And so it's really calming to me as a coach knowing that we have experience back there and they can help everybody get lined up where they need to be.
Aiden Hector's a guy who was recruited as a corner, started at safety as a true freshman. Where do you guys kind of see him factoring into this secondary?
We're really taking a good, hard look at him. And that's one of the reasons we had so many scrimmage snaps yesterday, is we wanted to see these new guys and where they can help us. And he's a guy that can play safety. He's a guy that can play nickel. He may even grow into a will linebacker. He's such a stout, strong kid, but had good experience at Washington State. We're just really excited about him. Played in this system before. So he's got so many great qualities. And, at the end of the day, we're looking for playmakers.
Yeah.
Guys that can make plays, make tackles, make interceptions, strip the ball, and he's got all of those qualities.
Have you seen the growth out of the linebackers that you've been looking for?
I'm really pleased with what I've seen from the linebackers just from the spring to now.
Yeah.
I think we have some guys that have been hurt that are back on the practice field. We're more athletic. We're running to the ball better. And I think that's a really encouraging position for us. One of the things I think Jordan Simmons has done a great job with our team, getting them in great shape. I think they're stronger. I think they're in better condition. And, I think that's going to serve them better for the fall. And, we're a team that want to be good in the second half and really good in the second half of the season. And that's been a weakness of CSU the last 5 years. And so we're very honest about that. We want to finish, and we want to start fast in September, really build momentum in October. But we want to give ourselves a chance in November to be competing for a championship and go into a bowl game. So to do that, we have to continue to get better every day.
Is that what would constitute a success to you? I mean, obviously in an ideal world, 12-0, win the championship.
Right.
That's what you guys would all love to do.
Right.
But just be better in November than you were in August. Be in the mix, compete for a bowl game.
Absolutely. I try to keep things simple with our team. I tell them that their job as a CSU football player is to get better every day. And if we continue to do that, I like to keep it simple. Tom House is one of my heroes. He was a former pitching coach and trains major league pitchers and also NFL quarterbacks. But he puts it real simple. As a competitor, you prepare, you compete, and then you reflect. And then the next day you do it all over again and you try to do it better. That's all we do every day in practice is prepare, go out and compete as hard as you can, and then reflect and try to be better the next day. And if we do that every day, for the next 5 months, we're going to have a good finished product.
I know you got to get going here, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But just between now and September 3rd, what's kind of the biggest goal for this team?
Just the chemistry come together, and I think we have some really talented players. Like our offensive line, we have 4 guys that are college starters. They just played at different schools.
Yeah,
never played together. So they're experienced football players, but they just have not the continuity of playing together. They haven't had. So we have to really do that quickly. We have to get all our kids together. I think there's going to be a learning curve in that first month of the season. We're going to have our ups and downs, but as we get into conference play, boy, we got to gel and really continue to improve. And I'm excited to get to work on that, to see it all come together. We're a very young team, 59 new players, whole new offense, mostly new defense. So there's going to be a learning curve, but I'm anxious to see these kids compete. We got some very exciting players. It should be fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I said yesterday after the scrimmage. Look, high variance. You got a redshirt freshman quarterback, all experienced linemen, but coming together, all these new players. You're going to see the good. You're going to see the moments where it's like, oh, they look like a team with 60 new players.
Right.
But it's exciting. Jay, thank you so much for joining me in studio. This is incredible. Before you go here, do you have any book recommendations? I know you're a big reader.
One of my favorite books, and I like to read it in training camp, is Parcells' memoir. And, Bill Parcells, one of the great coaches, obviously a Hall of Fame coach, but he had to start so many programs. Coached at Air Force, actually. Yeah. And but was with the Giants, was with the Jets, was with New England, was with the Cowboys, and had to rebuild all those programs. And with so many great coaches, Al Groh, one of his coaches, a friend of mine, and we talk a lot on the phone, and obviously Belichick and all the great players that he touched. And so just a great football man. I really pride myself in being a football man, not just an offensive coach, not just a head coach, but understand recruiting, development, staff organization, and really looking at an entire program and help building it into a winner. And so I love studying people like him because he's done it so many times and seen a lot of problems in the process, and you can learn so much from that. So that's a great book for anybody that loves football.
You heard the man. Pick it up. I'm getting it on the way home. Jay Norvell, live from the DNVR studio. Thank you so much.
Thank you.